You are about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOCDALI. So, we have been advocating from the beginning that, I think summer break is too long. Kids need to be learning. Kids need to be reading. So what you are seeing is a lot of programs, whether it's through school libraries, whether it's through schools, where they're going to have story time or reading. And some of the volunteers who are offering to read to the kids are those who are in drag. And drag story time has been something that has been growing and becoming more popular in many cities and libraries. And now that it's Pride Month, we are seeing a lot more drag story time. There's a controversy that we're going to explain where you have critics of it, you have proponents of it, and people have asked the medical community to weigh in. Does drag story time hurt a child or help a child? Now, I don't think we have any evidence to say that, we have one versus the other. And anybody who wants to, help kids read and learn, I commend them for trying. But what does happen psychologically if a child is exposed to, let's say, drag or some of the other things that, shall we say, certain libraries or schools are introducing them to? So, where doctors might have an opinion is the age at which sex ed should be taught. I don't think kids under 8 years old, are ready to comprehend all the nuances of sex and masturbating and all the things that had been suggested. I know schools such as in Florida suggested to wait till preteen, like we used to do it. And so from a sex ed standpoint, there are certain things that I think need to wait until a child is mentally prepared and able to, shall we say, accepted. I told you my kids, we had a conversation about sex way earlier than I thought we would. My sons were 7 and 4. And it's because their buddy was sleeping over, and that buddy had an older brother. And I guess during the sleepover, they were talking about, what the kid learned from his older brother. So my boys are giggling about it. And so they're giggling, after the mom picks up the friend. And I go, what are you guys talking about? Sex. I'm like, oh, okay. So teach me, what is it? So the older boy starts to stammer. He's like, and then the younger boy, the 4-year-old goes, well, it's when a boy sticks his blank into the girl. And so, like I said, much different than when girls, talk about sex. Well, it's when somebody falls in love and they hug and they kiss and they go off into the, with the boys. It's like it's an action, lasting no longer than 5 seconds. And then the older boy, remember he was only 7. He's like, how do you go up to? I don't want to do that, Mom. I mean, it frightened him. Okay, now a whole different story, but. That was a normal response for a younger child where sometimes those topics may frighten them. Now, somebody in drag, reading in drag, should not be talking about sex. I mean, if they're reading a story and it's, a story that doesn't have any, shall we say sexual undertones or whatever, that shouldn't necessarily affect a child. Psychologically, there's been a lot of discussions on, do children look at, at society as be happy who you are? Should you love who you are, or should you try to change it? We went for years saying, look, you are who you are, be proud of it, Have pride. That's why there's Pride Month. Nobody should force you to be gay. Nobody should force you to be a girl when you're not. Nobody should force you to be a boy when you're not. Nobody should force you. You are made who you are. God loves you. Nature loves you. This is who you are. Be proud of it. Some kids might interpret psychologically somebody altering their look as they're hiding or they don't want to be who they are. And they're changing. And so one thing that I know doctors and psychologists are trying to balance is the earlier messaging of be proud who you are. You don't have to change. You don't have to go through painful gay conversion classes. If you're gay, that's who you are. Be proud of who you are. Don't be forced to change. Don't do anything painful to yourself to try to conform and change to society. Be who you are. Trying to balance that with some of the newer, you could change. We could do surgery. We could do hormones. You could, wear extensive makeup and clothing. And so a child, depending on their age, might look at it differently. One, they might look at somebody in drag as, wow, you care. You're teaching us. You're reading to us. This is cool. Thank you for spending the time with us. Others might be like, that's a lot of work. You're putting in a lot of work to be somebody different. And that could confuse them, so we don't have a consensus on it. We don't. And so, parents need to talk to their children about, what these are, what sort of things are happening now, in terms of libraries and schools, et cetera. And so, most of us medical professionals will definitely, have an opinion on sex ed and sexual topics. But if somebody is reading a non-sexual story and that it's reading to children, whoever wants to volunteer to read, we're grateful for. 1-877 Doc Daliah.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Let's face it, guys, we're living in times where the truth is becoming more suppressed and censorship is increasing at an alarming rate, especially on social media platforms. It's Clyde, and I want to tell you about a safe and secure digital playground we put together just for you. It's Aftermath.media. You get access to thousands of Ground Zero archives and podcasts, along with our private social media groups with your basic membership starting at only $7 a month. Each subscription includes tech support, access to the RSS feeds, along with our own chat room and Telegram channel. In addition, the premium membership includes research study groups, webinars, a document and movie library, a live video stream of Ground Zero, a monthly Zoom chat with me, and other bonus content. Be sure to check out our yearly specials as well. Sign up today while you're thinking about it. Sign up at Aftermath.media. Again, that's Aftermath.media.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Doc-Dali, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So I'm a kiss butt. I kiss ass to my bosses. I have always learned to do that because I've never wanted to be fired. So I will kiss up and I will do my job. I will come in early. I will stay late. I want to be the teacher's pet. I want to be goody two shoes because then I'm going to be less likely to be fired. If I do my job really, really well, can't fire me. I'm doing a great job. Doing exactly what I'm supposed to do. Well, what if your boss has no say? And will you be laid off because of the computer? Is AI going to be determining your layoff? The answer is 1,000% yes. Companies are now using AI to do their dirty work. If they're using AI to hire people, then you bet your butt they are using AI to fire people. And you are starting to hear these cases of longtime workers, loyal workers, getting canned. And in fact, this one report says some of the employers are regretting the people they've lost. This is according to Dive Brief. More than half of leaders who laid off workers due to AI admit to, quote, screwing up. So 4 in 10 business leaders have laid off employees as a result of deploying AI. And in terms of using AI to choose who should, who should leave, there are regrets as people being lost and decisions not being made by, humans and the human factor. Humans will incorporate empathy. They'll look at loyalty. AI might miss that. And so we're seeing that because employers and businesses are trying to save money, they use AI to figure that out. Everybody's going to AI. You could use AI to write an email. I don't want to. I don't want to use AI for any of that. I want you guys to know it's really, really me. It's my personality. But, people don't want to be behind the scorn or be targeted for laying you off. So sorry, it was the computer, it was AI who decided to do that. And so whether you're being fired because AI has taken over your job or you're being fired because the AI algorithm said you needed to be fired, AI is now all up into our retroperitoneum as it pertains to whether you have a job or not, which means you need to learn how to kiss AI's ass. Can you do that? I can't. And I'm one of the best ass kissers there is. I don't know how to do that because I don't know what AI is looking for. AI is programmed. So when for those of you that are not getting jobs, AI finds something they don't like about your resume and it's a no. And people are trying to learn what do they need to do to get past that AI firewall. Saying, well, I don't like you. Is it that you have a Hotmail account and not a Gmail account? Is it your age? Is it that you used certain archaic resume templates? Is it a GPA? What is it? And so people are trying to learn what makes AI tick, and these algorithms are being changed by the minute. An HR department can change it any way they want. Same thing with firing. This is why DEI has become so controversial because people feel that AI is going to discriminate based on your race. AI could do that whether DEI exists or not. If somebody is programming, we don't want a person of a certain race, that AI can take control. Now, we could control this by not letting AI have the control. Saying, no, we're going to review the resumes. We are going to hire and fire. But no, people don't like the hiring process. People don't like the firing process. I hated letting people go. I've had to let people go, but usually I had my husband do it because I was so busy working with patients. We kind of did the good cop, bad cop thing. But, if I saw somebody mess up or somebody steal, I'm like, you're out. I'm sorry. I don't trust you. But when it was somebody who just really, really sucked and was getting the blood pressures wrong and all that, if my husband wasn't there, I'd say, look, I want you to get the experience you need and come back. Unfortunately, we need somebody with a little bit more experience because the blood pressures have to be correct. I mean, I might say it like that. I might be, but my husband did it short and sweet, got it done, and it was easier when he would, handle that. Well, even with somebody like me that's very comfortable around people and can talk about uncomfortable things, if even I didn't like firing, the average person doesn't. So they're going to use AI to do that algorithm, and that's why many people are getting fired by their computer by an email. You have been let go by the company. And then, the discussion of either severance or last paycheck or whatever follows in the email. And so if we're using AI for such a personal and vulnerable and intimate interaction as the hiring and firing of somebody, what else are we willing to have AI do? Well, we're already using it for, in medical applications, which I think should be used as a tool and as an adjunct, but we all know that it's later going to be a substitute. We are going to see doctors lose their job in a heartbeat because, why should a company pay $400,000 or $500,000 a year to a radiologist when they can have AI do the job and protect themselves from malpractice because they're using something that is now considered standard of care. It hasn't been considered standard of care, but it's going to be. So we are going to let AI be in our most intimate decisions. There's going to be probably apps saying, should you marry your partner? Put everything in and we will tell you what your marriage risk is. By the way, for those of you who need a business idea, there's a business idea. Use an app to see if that is somebody you should marry. But where I worry is you're going to have world leaders or scientists pose to AI the question, how do we solve world hunger? How do we solve the hospital bed crisis? How do we solve the healthcare crisis? And AI is going to give an answer that it computerly feels is logical, saying, let people die. The smaller the population, the fewer those issues you have. And then what are humans going to do? Are they going to act on that? Are they going to say, sorry, we think 75 is too old. You don't go into the hospital. Are they going to do like what happened in New York, where people had to be taken from the hospital, put back into the nursing home when they had COVID, and then it infected everybody else, even if it was inadvertently? Is our older people going to be at the mercy of AI? And is AI going to find the resources going to older or sick individuals the most calculated and logical decision to solve problems it's being poised to ask? For example, if you're going, what is the cheapest way to do a building? The way they're going to recommend it is not going to be handicap. It's not going to be handicap accessible. So you have to put in, but you have to do it so it's handicap accessible. I mean, you're gonna have to have a human inject into it, But we have to be open and embracing, the population that may not be completely bipedal and healthy and etc. And we're putting all this, giving all this power to AI, and the fact that your ability to feed your family is now at a computer's whim is frightening, extremely frightening. Are we going to have AI decide how to fight wars? Is AI going to come up with, which I'm sure people are already, countries are already using, some very disgusting mass casualty events to help war strategy? Of course, that's what AI is being trained to do. Now, I don't really believe AI is going to push the button, just like with Terminator 2. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think humans can be stupid enough to forfeit their power and their control. And that makes me nervous because we've seen humans already make very stupid decisions. We see the hate. We see the anti-Semitism. We see the racism. We see the discrimination. And so, for those of you who are worried that AI is going to cause you to lose your job, or is going to choose you to be fired, talk to your supervisors about what you can do to guard against that. 1-877-DOC-DOLLAR.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret. Powered by science.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So this is not a shock, but this is something that has made a lot of news. A Chinese researcher has been accused of plotting with her boyfriend. This is being reported by multiple news outlets, but I'm reading this from Daily Mail. She plotted with her boyfriend to smuggle a weapon of agro-terrorism into the United States and may have successfully hidden the pathogen of choice in her shoe on a previous trip. University of Michigan postdoctoral fellow Yun Qing Jing, 33 years old, has been charged alongside Zunyong Lu, 33 and 34 years old respectively, for this plot allegedly tied to the CCP, the Communist Chinese Party, or the Chinese Communist Party. Liu arrived in the United States from China in July 2024 carrying 4 small baggies of Fusarium graminearum. Fusarium graminearum is a fungus. It could cause mycotoxicosis, fusariosis, multiple infections in humans, but also can lead to devastation of crops. Apparently, the product has been responsible for causing billions of dollars worth of damage to livestock, wheat, barley, maize, and rice globally each year. Now, FBI Director Kash Patel had issued this warning after the first pictures emerged of Jin. And he says that the case is a sobering reminder that the CCP, Chinese Communist Party, is working round the clock to deploy operatives and researchers to infiltrate American institutions that target our food supply. If they are successful, the plot would, quote, have grave consequences, putting American lives and our economy at serious risk. So the couple has been charged with conspiracy, smuggling, making false statements, and visa fraud. Now, apparently, this smuggler, Jing, may have been successful in smuggling pathogens into the U.S. years earlier. And it doesn't take a lot of this fungus to do the damage that it needs to. Now, the research student has reportedly pledged her loyalty to the CCP, had indicated in messages to her partner that she previously carried a pathogen in her shoe on a trip to America in 2022. And so they said electronic evidence also shows that Jin had been involved in smuggling packages of biological material into the United States on prior occasions. And separately, the messages revealed she had arranged for another associate from China to mail her a book with a plastic baggie of the substance hidden inside in early 2024. So what were they going to do? Now, they went to University of Michigan, right? But, would they have dispersed it there? Her boyfriend was employed at a Chinese university, and he also studies Fusarium graminearum. The pair had discussed the shipping of biological materials and research being done in the lab. If you are exposed to this, you could have vomiting, liver damage, reproductive defects. If you're immunocompromised, it could consume you. You could get headaches, abdominal pain, but a fungal infection is a lot harder to treat. Now, we're being told that last year, Liu was turned away at the Detroit airport and sent back to China after changing his story during an interrogation about the red plant material discovered in his backpack, according to the FBI. He initially claimed he knew nothing about the samples, but later admitted he was planning to use the material for research in the lab. FBI said authorities found a scientific article on his phone that was titled Plant Pathogen Warfare Under Changing Climate Conditions. So, a week before he arrived in the U.S., Liu exchanged messages with his partner who said, "It is a pity that I still have to work for you." FBI agents visited Jian at the campus lab in February, and she told them 100% no when asked if she had been assisting Liu with this. But her text messages suggest that she was. And she was studying the product prior to her boyfriend coming to the country. So the University of Michigan said in a statement that it did not receive funding from the Chinese government in relation to research conducted by the accused individuals. And the university does not have federal permits to handle this Fusarium graminearum. And they say they strongly condemn any actions that seek to cause harm, threaten national security, or undermine the university's critical public mission. But, China is the second largest country of origin sending international students here. It's behind only India. For the 2023-2024 school year, Daily Mail says more than 270,000 international students were from China, making up roughly a quarter of all foreign students. Now, not all Chinese students are working for the Chinese Communist Party, but are they being vetted? How do we know who is and who isn't? And I feel bad because there's obviously individuals here who are innocent and that are here to study. But then when you stop for a second and go, the CCP is pretty powerful. How do they not have control over the students coming over? In order to be granted that freedom to leave, do promises have to be made? And I'm not saying everybody. I think there's a lot of, innocent, but I just don't know how the process goes, how somebody can leave China. Like, remember, there were Chinese nationals at the border. How did they get out of China? How easy is that? Well, it's not easy. So then you wonder where they sent. And we're not stupid. Espionage has existed since the dawn of time. That's how wars have been fought for centuries. Spies, traitors, they were a part of our warfare, everyone's warfare. That's just how, victors were able to get the intelligence they needed and do what they needed to do. So we're not stupid. Of course there's spies. But are we actively looking for them? Are we people are studying in the lab? See, I've been on many college campuses. I've been in many labs. I've been a student for many years. And one thing about labs is nobody's around. People just do their work. You don't have somebody come up going, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like when I was in anatomy lab, our professor was walking around watching everything we do, making sure we're not hurting anybody. In every single lab I've worked in, there was nobody that came up and looked over my shoulder. You had a job to do in the lab. You did it. You did it ethically, and then you left. There were no cameras, nothing. So my guess is somebody who does want to work for a foreign entity has a lot of freedom on a university campus if there's nobody overseeing. Remember, most of the professors are working remote. They're not on campus. Security can't tell what fusarium is. They're not, trained to be looking for every single biopathogen. And what does a student do? If somebody comes up to you and says, what are you working on? Well, I'm looking at the pseudostratified columnar epithelial effects when you mix sodium hydroxide with, okay, that sounds fine, whatever. Move on. Carry on. Are we vetting these students? And then two, are we ensuring that when they do get here, and by the way, it might not be that these people want to, for them to be able to leave, are their family held hostage? Are their family at risk? Many people coming across the border may have a completely clean record, but are they sent under the duress of the cartel who has a gun to their family's head? Hence, they will do what the cartel wants or the terrorists want. So we need to really look deeper as to who is coming over and studying here and what they're working on secretly in our taxpayer-funded labs. 1-877 Doc Daliah.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Hey guys, it's Clyde. We've had a lot of requests for Ground Zero merchandise, so we put together an online store with a big variety of high-quality items. I'm really excited to let you know about these things. We have a lot to offer you and your loved ones. In addition to our regular apparel, such as t-shirts, beanies, hoodies, and hats, we've expanded our product line with posters, flags, aprons, mugs, and a whole lot more. We also have Ground Zero collectibles, along with a limited edition of items like a Clyde Lewis canvas portrait, a Ground Zero embroidered jacket that will certainly make for great gifts and for interesting conversations with family and friends. And we now offer publications such as Ron Patton's book about mind control, MK Zine, and back copies of the official magazine of Ground Zero while it was in print. Paranoia, the Conspiracy Reader, also coming in 2023, are updated and revised books that I've written. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. So shop today at our official store by going to groundzeromerch.com. Again, that's groundzeromerch.com.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Doc Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So, I carry some dollar bills in my wallet. I don't get the dollar bills. I'm not of an age where people will throw dollar bills at me. So, but I use them every now and then. I like to. I usually tip with 5s or 10s or 20s, but sometimes when it's something really, really small where I'm like, why are we tipping, but they need a tip, I'll throw a couple dollar bills in there. But I've never really looked at the dollar bill closely. And boy, is it a work of art. I didn't realize how much art goes into our currency. When I go overseas, some like money, like the pound in England, these things are exquisite. The shekel. So money's really pretty. I think I want to study that more. So this article caught my eye. Reader's Digest has, here's what the symbols on the U.S. $1 bill mean. Now, the majority of the dollar bills in my wallet are usually $1. So if you ask me what's on a $50 bill or a $100 bill, couldn't tell you. I haven't seen one of those in a while. But I definitely have seen the singles. So the president, George Washington, first president, obviously, is on the front side of the dollar bill. Apparently, it's been there since 1869. You'd think it would have been sooner. But the dollar bill has the U.S. president on it, but only in recent times, 1869. The portrait is framed in an oval on the center of the bill with the surname Washington written at the bottom. The engraving is based on the American painter Gilbert Stuart's 1796 oil painting of Washington, known as the Athenaeum portrait. This was named after being acquired by the Boston Athenaeum soon after the artist's death. Now, I think Washington died in 1799. So the picture used was of him a few years before he passed. There's leaves on the dollar bill. The leaves appear in multiple places on the front side of the dollar bill, including around the border as well as the bottom of Washington's portrait. They are laurel leaves, according to Maurer, who is, I believe, a historian. I don't have too much information on who Maurer is. They're interviewing Maurer, but they don't say who he is. And they say that the leaves are associated with honor. The laurel leaves are associated with honor and wisdom and military victory, which was relevant for George Washington. The design around the ones, so there's a very intricate webbing or almost a parabolic sort of how they mint this is incredible. But they said there is a number one. Oh, yeah, there's also the number one on each of the corners of the front side of the dollar bill, indicate the value. Surrounding each of these, you'll find the intricate pattern. The use of fine lines in the patterns and the spaces around the numbers indicate the note's denomination is called guilloche. Many countries' banknotes use this kind of feature as a form of counterfeit deterrence. It looks like it's really hard to replicate. They say what's fun about it is it derives from metalwork, not printing. Our notes are produced from engraved sheets of metal. The people at the Bureau of Engraving and Printing are skilled engravers who pass on techniques from generation to generation to make the plates from which the notes are printed. Then you have the Department of Treasury seal. It's a green seal on the Department of Treasury that's stamped on the right side of the front of the $1 bill over the word one. And it's written in capital letters. The year 1789, which is when the Department of Treasury was created, is printed at the bottom of the seal. Within the seal appears a coat of arms style shield featuring balancing scales and a key. This represents fair and honest measurement. The key represents security, like locking things up in a safe or vault. Also appearing in the shield is a chevron design with 13 stars to represent the 13 states. Now, I don't know if they mean chevron like Chevron oil. That's interesting. I didn't realize all the intricacy about that. I never looked at the dollar bill that closely. Usually, if I do have any currency, it's not in my hands to that extent at a time. Then there's a letter with a circle. To the left of Washington's portrait on the front side of the dollar bill appears a letter A through L inside the circle. It's surrounded by the seal of the Federal Reserve. Now, the Federal Reserve seal tells you which federal branch issued that note into circulation. Each letter responds to a different branch and is also the first letter of the serial number printed on the note. The numbers printed in the four corner areas of the open space on the front also indicate which Federal Reserve branch. Now, again, the intricacy helps against counterfeit. So if the serial number of the dollar bill doesn't match the letter, that's a big red sign. So Boston will have the letter A and the number 1. New York will have the letter B, number 2. If your money has a C on it, it's from Philly. If it has a D on it, it's from Cleveland. An E from Richmond, an F, Atlanta, G, Chicago, H, St. Louis, I, Minneapolis, J, Kansas City, K will be from Dallas, and L will mean San Francisco. Now, if it doesn't have a letter, it might have a number. So the numbers correspond: 1 Boston, 2 New York, 12 San Francisco. So that's interesting. Now, we're not done. In addition to the Federal Reserve branch codes, there are 2 other letter number combos on the front side of the $1 bill with hidden meaning. According to Maurer, these are sheet codes, which are part of the printing process for organizing the notes. It ensures sequential serial numbers and provides a way to check for printing errors and then gather up any notes from that one same sheet that contain those errors. Now, how the hell you gather up currency that has already been circulating out there is beyond me. My guess is, remember, they said that some of these dollar bills are worth a lot and to look for a certain serial number because they were a misprint, and that if you do find it, it's worth something. And so maybe, news has to shoot that out and then everybody has to check their dollar bill. There's a pyramid, a very mysterious pyramid on the dollar bill, left side of the back. This feature is one of the great seals of the United States. It was designed back in 1782, Maurer, and the pyramid is supposed to represent stability and timelessness. If you look closely, you notice the pyramid has 13 steps representing the 13 original colonies. Well, that's interesting. Then there's an eye. You think it's the Eye of Mordor. This was designed way before Lord of the Rings. But there's a triangle surrounded by rays of lights, floating about the unfinished pyramid structure with a floating triangle and an eye. It's called the Eye of Providence. It's watching over and ensuring the endurance of the structure of the American government, also known as the American experiment, Maurer says. The Eye of Providence is also associated with Freemasonry, the oldest fraternal organization in the world, and was regularly featured on Masonic buildings and churches in the 1700s. So, is it a design or is it hidden meaning? Then there's letters on the base of the pyramid, a string of Roman numerals. It's the Roman numeral for 1776. Very cool, because that's when we declared Great Britain or independence for Great Britain. Then there's, of course, the eagle. The American dollar bill has an eagle inside a circle. Should not be any big myth there. But interestingly, the bird was later changed to a bald eagle. So it originally was a white eagle, and then they changed it to a bald eagle. And then the eagle has its own shield. Apparently, this shield was supposed to also be they say the front of the eagle appears an unsupported shield. From 1774 through 1789, the Secretary of the Continental Congress and a key player in refining the Great Seal's imagery noted that an unsupported shield represents the power of the U.S., relying on its own strength and virtue rather than that of foreign aid. The horizontal lines at the top of the shield represent Congress. The vertical green and white stripes represent the red and white stripes of the American flag. I didn't realize there was so much of this. There's eagle talons, right, that for war and peace. There's collections of 13. There's Latin phrases, Novus Ordo Seclorum, Providence favors our actions, New Order for the Ages, and Out of Many One. So pretty cool. That's our dollar bill. 1877. Daliah, don't go away.
Can you believe, with all the recent violent protests, looting, and destruction, some areas are considering either defunding or abolishing the police? At a time when America's neighborhoods need the protection of police the most, some elected officials would rather create more chaos by playing politics. If you're sick of elected officials caving in to demands of the radical left, you're not alone. It's time we stand up and declare our support for local police. The majority of police officers are important partners in protecting our God-given rights. If you prefer freedom over chaos, then learn how you can help protect the local police that serve your community. Call today and request your free Support Your Local Police info packet. Dial 800-JBS-USA-1. That's 800-JBS-USA-1. Request your free Support Your Local Police info packet by calling 800-JBS-USA-1 today.